Hello, I'm smiling with my teeth clenched. I will try not to be in a grumpy mood as I'm doing this podcast for a second time because the other one didn't record. I think it's because I recorded a video on it. But anyways, let's play ball. Okay, homework on page 11, please. And you have to do number 2 and number 3. And slope y-intercept, this is the formula y equals mx plus b, where the slope is the number in front of the x and b is the y-intercept including the sign. I would prefer, in fact, I'm going to insist that you put your y-intercept as a point, please. This one is a little tricky. You just got to switch the terms or recognize. It's weird. It's not usually written like that, but if it is, you have to do that. And they don't do a very good job of showing you what to do here. Here the slope is not 6 and the y-intercept is not 8. You have to divide by 4. And what happens when you divide by 4, you divide each term by 4. Okay, so this becomes 6 over 4x, and this becomes 8 divided by 4, which is 2. Okay, now you have to reduce that fraction, divide by 2, divide by 2, and as previously discussed, 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So slope, y-intercept. These guys, we love them. Free marks. Don't forget the x part. But the most important thing not to forget is the y equals. When it says equation, y equals has to be part. So you don't want to do this and get half marks because you forgot to put y equals. So don't. Number 4. Slope and y-intercept, and then graph it. So there's the slope, there's the y-intercept. So you start at 2 up for this one. I get rid of that. Got rid of everything. Oh well. So 2 up, there it is. And then I go rise over run. So 1 up and then 4 to the right. 1 up, 4 to the right. 1 up, 4 to the right. 1 up. And this one doesn't say 3 other points, so you can do that once or twice because these are spread out enough, and then draw the line, but please make sure you label the line. Don't label it A, label it y equals 1/4 x plus 2z. Here, your y-intercept is 1 down, and your slope is -1, which is -1 over 1. Means your rise is -1, 1 down, and your 1 is 1 to the right. So down, 1, down, 1, down, 1, down, 1. And I'd do that 2 or 3 times so you can get a proper line here. This is graph the equation. So let's write down this and include arrows, please. -4/3 plus 0 means the y-intercept is 0, 0, right there. And then -4 as a rise, and 3 as a run. 4 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. That'd be good enough to draw that line and write down, label the line. Y equals 5 is either here, 5 up, or here, 5 to the right. If you're not sure, you don't have to be. You got a graphing calculator, y equals 5. Graph. If it doesn't look like that, press zoom 6. Zoom, and that's how y equals 5 looks. So it's 5 up. And that makes sense because every point here has y equals 5. So 1, 5 is on the graph, negative 2, 5 is on the graph, 3, 5 is on the graph, so negative 2, 5 up, negative 1, 5 up, 3, 5 up, and you can see that's this line. I don't need to rewrite it. Y equals 5. So you need to know that y equals a number is a horizontal line. We've seen it a bit, but we're going to see it way more today. And that x equals a number is a vertical line. Go to page 12, please. Is it 8? Is it 8? Yes. 8, 9, 10. And here's some calculator work. You don't need your calculator work at all because the slope y-intercept is always given when y is by itself. Okay? So there's your slope, there's your y-intercept. You don't need any calculator work at all to get that. Please don't write your y-intercept like that. Never mind, you don't have this question. Please write it as a point as already previously discussed. Now, to get y equals 7x subtract 8, 7x subtract 8 graph. You already know the y-intercept is negative 8, but to confirm it, second calculate value button, x equals 0, and if you press enter, you get 0, negative 8. To get the x-intercept, let's go back here. Don't forget, x-intercept is the 0 button on your calculator. So if you wanted to, just to confirm, you can press the value button for the y-intercept. But for the x-intercept, it's second calculate 0, and then you go left, right, and enter. I'm just going to put equals. Okay, so back to 7x subtract 8 on my calculator. I press second, calculate. X-intercepts are known as zeros of the function. And now I got to go left of this x-intercept. So you need to know where the x-intercept is. Press enter. And now I got to go right of it, which is above it. Press enter, and then you press enter again. 1.14. Which brings me to another thought. Some of you on the assignment put 1.1. Please read and write down read. It says nearest hundredth, so it needs to be the nearest second decimal place. You don't want to do all this fun Xbox stuff and then not get full marks, okay? So make sure you write yourself a note, and again, don't write the x-intercept like that. Write it as an ordered pair in brackets. And now we're going to change some windows for this guy. Y equals negative 31 halves x subtract 25. So let's just do it on normal window setting from negative 10 to 10. There's my graphing calculator. I will put in y equals negative. I almost put subtract. Look up, if I put negative 31x, if I put subtraction sign and graph, it will give me an error. Remember, your calculator is your friend. If it gives you an error, that means you did something wrong. And in this case, I can't put a negative, I can't put a subtraction sign to start it. The first term, I have to put a negative sign. So negative 31, I'm going to put x, because x is the number x over 1 divided by 2. You could also put negative 31 over 2 times x, but that's how I do it, and professional math students do it that way. So leave the x in the numerator. Subtract 25. When I graph it, it's not a graph where I see the x and y intercept, and that's what we want on a graph. So if I notice 25 is the biggest number in the equation, so I want to change my window to negative 30, 30, and then 3. Okay, so if every 10 units goes up by 3, that'll get you to 30 and negative and positive 30. Negative 30 and positive 30. Okay, so you do that. Same thing for the y's. Leave the 1 as x res, and then press and graph. Okay, so now I can see my x and y intercept, and again, just to confirm that my y-intercept is negative 25. There you go. You can get that from the equation, thanks to y equals mx plus b form. Now go ahead and do the x-intercept before I do. So second, calculate 0, left of it, right of it, enter, and to the nearest hundredth, please. Good job. Second, calculate 0. So I could go, nope, second, calculate, didn't I put 0? 0. Left of this one, so I gotta go left of it, that means above it. Enter. And to the right of it, enter. And then enter again. I get -6, -1.61, or -1.62. Those are my two options. And you can see -1.61 as an ordered pair. Answer key, lost marks. Niner, best number in the whole wide world. Which does not represent an equation of a straight line. They all do. They all, if you put these in a graphing calculator, are straight lines. That's an odd answer. Usually when you have an answer like this in multiple choice, that's not the answer, but it is in this case. And tenor. Now I took a peek at this one and I realized as I scroll down to the answers that this is wrong. Perpendicular, the slope of the first line is right here, -1/2, and this slope is -2. Those are not perpendicular. Only one of them can be negative. However, I want to concentrate on C because this can be a separate question by itself. And let me move up here. When you get a question like C, is the point on a line? You have to substitute the point into the equation. There's your x and there's your y. So x equals 8, y equals -3. If you sub that into the equation and calculate each side, the left-hand side has to equal the right-hand side. I'll show you what I mean. So we write down y equals -1/2 x plus 1. We're going to use the point 8, -3. So x equals 8, and y, where we see a y, you put -3. X equals 8, which is 8 over 1, plus 1. I'm going to reduce it first and then multiply. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times -1 is -4. You can do it a different way if you wish. And then again, you don't move anything to one side. That's what you do when you solve for x. Here you don't have an x. There's no x here. You just calculate each side and you hope that they're, well, I shouldn't say you hope, you just see if they're equal to each other. If they are, so that, and we're going to do this much more in the future. Left hand side equals the right hand side. That means, therefore, 8, -3 is on the line. Voila. Homework out. Okay, new stuff. Go to page 12, please. Bottom of page 12, writing equations. It says write an equation, you have to put y equals. Otherwise, equation means there's an equal sign. It has to be an equal sign, and there has to be a left-hand side and a right-hand side. Go ahead and try to do number 12 on your own before we do it together. Okay, it's tricky-licky only because it doesn't say the y-intercept is 2, but it does say the y-intercept is 2. It has the point 0, 2. If you have any points, 0, let's start with the 0, at x equals 0, those are y-intercepts. So sometimes I'll be saying y-intercept equals 4, and sometimes I'm going to say passes through the point 0, 4. That means you have to recognize that's the y-intercept. Because honestly, if you do, Some of the questions coming up are going to be much easier than if you start using the slope formula and start subtracting and getting double signs and so forth. You'll get the same answer, but 2 steps later. So again, we want to keep this nice and easy. We have the formula. Actually, it's right here. Y equals mx plus b. So the slope goes in front of the x, and the y-intercept goes at the end. And that's all there is to this one. Good job if you figured that out on your own. I'm really impressed. But wait, now you're looking out for points to start with 0. And just as an aside, this is not a y-intercept. These are x-intercepts. You cannot put this at the end of the equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, slope-intercept form has to have a y-intercept at the end. Okay, hippity hop all the way to the top of page 13. That was kind of fun. I think I'm going to use that phrase again. Hippity hop all the way to the top. I like flippage. Go flippage soon. Example 2 says, right, equation of a line. Okay, so we did the opposite of this before. Before I gave you an equation, you had to graph the line. Now we're graphing we have the line given to us, and we have to get the equation from the line. Okay, it's very similar, and it just is all based on y equals mx plus b on the slope-intercept form. So here's line 1 in green, and there's line 1. Okay, that's the green one. So first thing we do is find the y-intercept. That's the easiest one. It's 0, 4 down. So 0, negative 4 is a y-intercept on this green line right there. And then we got to find the slope. And the slope is, if we use that point here, 1 up, 3 to the right, 1 up, 3 to the right, 1 up, 3 to the right. Lost that 1 up, 3 to the right. So the slope is rise of 1. Sorry, let's just get rid of that. You can scratch. The rise of 1 and the run of 3. Now that's all we need. So the second step is the slope. M symbol for slope. And now you write the equation, and don't forget the y equals. That would be so sad. 1/3 x subtract 4. Alright, line 2. You're supposed to do, so if you can turn away and do line 2 on your own, find the y-intercept and the slope, and give me the equation. And it's done for you because it's the second time I've podcasted this beautiful math. Maybe we'll go yellow this time. I'll call it gold. Okay, so for the blue, there's 0, negative 2 right there. And what slope is it? 3 down, 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. So negative 3 over 2. And then just combine those in the slope-intercept form. Yeehaw! Your turn to do line 1 and 2 in number 2. And give you as much time as you need, I guess, 4 minutes, and then you can unpause. So pause it now. Thank you, friend. Okay, the next question is exactly what we just did. get the slope and the y-intercept from the graph and put it into the equation that has y equal. Okay? You don't have to do line 3, just 1 and 2. And let's see what happens. I need this to be there. And how did you do? You're not going to do that for the y-intercept. You're going to put 0, -8 to get into good habits. And that's the first thing you do, is find the y-intercept, and then from there find the slope to an x point. And again, the points have to be on the corners of the squares. So your rise and your run is a whole number. It doesn't help you if you have a third or a 2/3 of a unit. Going down 1 2/3 is not going to help you. Okay, so that was line 1 and line 2. Didn't have to do line 3. This just means if you have to reduce your slope, that means you didn't take the two closest points together. And that's okay, that just means you have to reduce. So line 2, here we went 2 and 4, but actually could have went down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. As long as you reduce the slope, you're fine. If you put -2/4 x here, you would lose marks. You would lose a half a mark. So don't. Okay, next concept is on the bottom of page 13. Just ignore the black marker right now. And we're going to do example 3. And as promised earlier, you have a study star there. It says write an equation means y equals. Okay, so you have to put y equals when you write an equation, or 0 equals when it comes up later in general form. And these are just capital F for fun. Okay, now let's read. Term the equation. Well, first of all, again, we're going to go y equals. But when it says parallel and perpendicular, that means slope. Okay, we learned that parallel lines have the same slope and perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. So when you hear the parallel and perpendicular word, you're caring about the slope part of the equation. So when they give us this first equation, we care about the 1/3, not the 4. The 4 is meaningless. In fact, if it's parallel, we're going to use the same slope. And then with the second equation, they say the same y-intercept, so we care about the y-intercept part. And now we just combine those two into y equals 1/3 x subtract 7. So you're taking the red 1/3 and the green -7, and don't forget to put the y equals. Okay, for B, there is the first trick, 0, 9, passes through 0, 9. What do you think? You're thinking y-intercept is anything that starts with a 0, because x equals 0. Those are all y-intercepts. 0, 9 is your y-intercept. That's great. So that's the number at the end. All we need to do is find out slope. This one says perpendicular. I've asked you to underline the word perpendicular twice because it always gives you an extra step. And it's very easy to forget, because especially when you have these 2 points and you're using this formula. Oops, not that formula. We'll get to that. A little bit of cleaning here. You're going to use the formula for the slope. y2 subtract y1, all divided by x2 subtract x1. In fact, I'm going to get you to do that right now. Find the slope of the line segment, or the line passing through those 2 points, 2, -6 and -5, 0. And once we have the slope, we already have the y-intercept, we can create an equation. So go ahead and do that. Calculate the slope of those 2 points, of the line segment passing through those 2 points. Remember, anytime a first ordered pair has a negative, it becomes a double sign. So 0 subtract -6. All divided by -5 subtract 2. So that's +6, 0 plus 6, over -7. And now we're going to put the negative sign up there, thanks to Jesus, who said, "Thou shalt not have negative signs in thy denominator." When you put the negative sign up, don't flip them. We're not doing that. We're just moving negative signs up. That's it. So that's the slope we need. And now we have our equation of the line with the slope. So y equals -6 over 7x. And our y-intercept says 0.9, so we put +9. So sweet. Okay, I'll get you to write that down. I'm going to pause right now because I'm about to erase it to explain the next concept. Pause, pause. Okay, our next concept, we've seen a little bit already. It's okay. I don't mind how they say that because k is constant and you need to know that k means number. But I'd rather say y equals a number means horizontal. Okay, so y equals 5 is a horizontal line. Y equals -2 is a horizontal line. On the other hand, if x equals a number, it's a vertical line. And you'll see that on the top of the next page. Slippage. Okay, so y equals number is horizontal, x equals number is a vertical line. What does that mean? Okay, that means if I ask you to graph x equals 5, you need to know how to do it. So graph x equals 5 and y equals 5. Okay, so hopefully you remember it. If you don't have to. You can graph y equals 5 on your calculator. Just press y equals and then put 5. Graph. I'm going to press zoom 6 because I changed my window, so zoom 6. And you can see y equals 5 is a horizontal line. Okay, so you can't guess whether x equals 5 is a vertical line at 5 to the right or a horizontal line at 5 up. You have to know. And we just said that y equals 5 is a horizontal line. So x equals 5 is your vertical line at 5 to the right. Label, label. Y equals 5 is your horizontal line at 5 up, which we already saw the graph of the horizontal line. Okay, so you go ahead and do those two. Y equals -3 and D x equals 7, 11. Just had a pail of Coke. Friday. Don't have kids. I have to share it with 3 kids. Okay, y equals -3. I know whether it's horizontal or vertical, but if you don't, you can just punch it in y equals -3 and it will graphing calculator. If you haven't named your graphing calculator, you should by now. Mine's Betsy, and Betsy tells you that it's a horizontal line at 3 down. Okay, so horizontal line of 3 down, y equals -3. So if that's a horizontal line, then this one must be a vertical line at 7 to the right. Nice. Okay, here's a little baby question that could be the difference between 98 and 92. Probably not that much, 98 and 95. So study start. This one, if you don't study and you just go on by your big fat brain, you might get it wrong, because it seems like y-axis would have to do with the y part of the ordered pair. It does not. I don't know. I don't think I want to. I'll just erase this whole thing. Okay, so let's read it carefully. Parallel to the y-axis. Well, the y-axis is right here. So parallel to it is a vertical line. Look at this. This is a vertical line, and it's x equals. It's not y equals. Okay, so careful, careful. Parallel to the y-axis is actually these guys, vertical lines. Those are the lines that are parallel. So x equals a number has to be the answer. And what number does x equal? Well, the x part of the coordinate. Okay, so this is x equals -2, parallel to the y-axis because it's vertical. And similarly, this one's parallel to the x-axis. This is the x-axis, and of course the x-axis is horizontal. If you have a horizontal line, that means y equals a number. In this case, Frosty the Snowman loves this kind of stuff. The end. So today's class, we're going to do this homework and then correct it. And then if you have time after that, you can study for the assignment on Wednesday on slope, schmope, and writing equations. So let's look at the homework for a second, and I'm actually going to do one with you. So first of all, right here, number 1 says write the equation. So all of these should have y equals as the end, so you don't lose a half mark every single time. Yikes. Origin, you should know what the origin is, that point. But this guy, I want to again star. This, when I tell you it passes with a point 0, 1, that is the y-intercept. It's just like telling you this, except for not. Okay, 0, 1, these are all y-intercepts that you have to know just can be put at the end of the slope-intercept. Y equals mx+b formula. Okay, perpendicular, I asked you to underline 2 times. I don't know why I underlined the purple. Purple's good enough. Dumb me. So all those, look at 4 questions say perpendicular. You better know how to do it. It's an extra step. It's finding the slope, but then taking the negative reciprocal of the slope that you find. So careful when it says perpendicular, it's an extra step. In this case, it says, I'm going to just look at the green stuff, the slope is 4, but it's perpendicular to that slope. So remember, the number 4 is 4 over 1. Now you flip it and add a negative sign. So go ahead and write down these steps and answers. And notice I didn't forget y equals, so I got full marks for this guy. And of course, perpendicular is coming more than parallel. If it was said parallel, you would just use the 4. Parallel to y equals 4x subtract 2, then the slope would be 4. You wouldn't have to take a negative reciprocal. Okay, so you got time to do homework. Go ahead and you'll notice that, oops, I don't want to give you the answer there. And once you do the homework, then you can unpause it and correct. We'll pause this at 35:44. Okay, 40, 41, 42, 43. Okay, here we go. Correcting the homework on page 14. You had to do 1A, CE, and then the right-hand side will be coming up. Right, the equation with, okay, again, equation means y equals. Please know that by now. Slope, intercept, origin is just 0, 0. That's the x and a y intercept. So you don't need to put 0 at the end. Just put nothing. And this one says perpendicular. Double underline. Did you double underline it? Double underline it. So we don't use negative 2/3. We flip it and lose the negative sign. So that's why we get perpendicular slope of 3/2. And we combine that with the y-intercept, and there's your equation. GI is coming up next. There's your GI. Through the point. Okay, this is the hardest one so far. This is a y-intercept. Okay, so just put +1 at the end and you're good. And perpendicular again, so you don't use 4/1. You flip it and add a negative sign to use -1/4. Now you don't add a negative sign every time when it says perpendicular. If this one doesn't have a negative sign, remember only one of them can be negative. So if the slope started with a negative sign, then you would leave this one as no negative. Combine those and you get that. Same y-intercept. Okay, where's the y-intercept part? That's the part you care about in this. And then it says perpendicular, so you care about the slope, but you also have to do the negative reciprocal, which is right there. Now we got to combine these two into an equation. Y equals -3x, -3/7x, subtract 3. Alright, here comes 5. Nope, overshot it. There's 5. Again, y-intercept. Okay, why is this 4 times now we've seen it in 5 minutes? That's the y-intercept. So you can put subtract 1 at the end. You're kind of smiling at this point when you see that. But we need the slope, and don't forget. The first time I did this, I almost went right to here and just found the slope. I didn't underline the perpendicular. I was so happy that I knew what to do. I missed this word. So that gives you an extra step. Find the slope, then find the perpendicular slope, then find the equation. So the slope of this is -3 plus 2, and 12 subtract 7, -1/5. Step 1 complete. Step 2 is what's the perpendicular slope. So flip it and get rid of the negative sign, so 5/1, which is just 5. And the third step is to combine that into an equation. Y equals 5x subtract 1. Where's the subtract 1? Right there. I'm just going to leave the screen right here. Number 6. Yeah. Parallel to the y-axis means x equals. Parallel to the x-axis means y equals. What does x equal? X equals the x. What does y equal? Y equals the y. So again, that's 4 questions we've done like that. Next time you see it, we'll be on evaluation. And you're going to have to know how to do it lastly, we've got some graphs. X equals 3 and y equals negative 3. And x equals is a vertical line. A 3 to the right. Ciao. What did I say ciao for? I mean, correctamundo. And y equals negative 3 is 3 down horizontal line. And again, if you little confusion on a test or an assignment, just punch that into your calculator and it will show you exactly this graph. Okay, so that's up to page 14, and that's exactly what your assignment is on tomorrow. So if you have extra time right now, I want you to flip through pages 1 to 14 and learn about all the slope formulas, rise over run, y2 subtract y1 all divided by x2 subtract x1, parallel perpendicular, write in equations, and don't forget drawing graphs from an equation, and vice versa. I give you a graph and you have to create the equation from that. Okay, so do that. If you have any questions at all, come to the chat question room. I'll be happy to help. God bless, an awesome day. I sure hope this works.